Hello there, I'm Black Bright. I also go under Dark Shades, but I was just doing another relationship video. As you know, Wednesday at 8 o'clock I feature a relationship video, and somebody asked me to do a video on how do you recognize a relationship that's going to be abusive. And you find some people, especially women, they can enter one abusive relationship after the other. And they don't know why they can't end the cycle. They don't understand why they keep perpetuating the same result. And they perpetuate the same result because usually it's because they haven't kind of self-reflected on their behavior. They tend to accept poor behavior. And they also don't recognize poor behavior. Sometimes, if you've had a challenging upbringing and somebody abuses you, you'll kind of excuse it because you'll think, okay, it's normal. Some people do not realize what's normal and what's abnormal in relationships. So supposing somebody says they're going to call you, and they don't call, then somebody who has been raised up challenging will dismiss it and say, oh, it doesn't really matter. They won't see it as lack of integrity. They won't see it as somebody not keeping their word. They will just say, oh, it doesn't matter. And whenever that person calls, regardless of how many times they say they're going to call and they don't call, they accept that person's call and they don't ask the question, you did say you were going to call the other night. How come you didn't call? You know, and what you're doing when you are accepting behavior, inconsistent behavior, lack of consideration in a relationship, you're actually setting yourself up for abuse. You might not think so, but you are. And that's what I'm going to talk about. The small things that a man can do, and this is for women, this video, small things that a man can do that should trigger alarm bells as to whether or not you're going to end up in another abusive relationship because you're not recognizing the signs. A lot of people who set themselves up for abusive relationships lack self-worth. They do not consider themselves worthy of certain behavior. So if a man talks down to them, if he insults them and says, oh, you're so fat, or you look awful in that dress, or they might say they're going to take them somewhere and they don't take them, and they decide that they say they're going to call and they don't, and they show no consideration at all, and the woman just accepts it. The woman doesn't see anything wrong with it. She's just grateful for the few moments she can have with that person. That's how you know you're setting yourself up for an abusive relationship. Okay, I've written some notes down. One-sided. If you're in a relationship and it's one-sided, you're setting yourself up for abuse. Anybody who cares about you will not allow you to do everything. They will want to participate. They will want to share moments with you. They will want to take the initiative. They're not always going to leave you to take the initiative, and they're not always going to want you to do everything. So if you find you're in a relationship where, you know, you're the one that is always calling, you're the one that's always going down to see your man, you're the one that's always initiating things, you're the one that's trying to get some kind of involvement from your partner, then you know that it's one-sided. A healthy relationship means two people are giving and taking. Two people are participating. Two people are interacting. Two people are calling. Two people are doing things together. Not just one person doing it all the time. So if you find that you're the one that's always initiating, you're the one that's always going to see him, You're the one that's always paying for everything. You're the one that's always, I don't know, but you're the one that's always. Then you'll know it's just one-sided. That person has never attempted to call you. That person hasn't attempted to come and see you. You know, those are the kind of things. If you're always doing, you're the one that's always doing, you're the one that's always going to see that person. That's a one-sided relationship. Okay, and that person, you can't blame that person, because if that is what you're allowing, that person would do it. It's just like if you, some people do have some kind of sense of conscience, but it's just like if you allow, it's like if you're giving somebody £20 every day, and you can say, here's £20 every day, and it's yours, they're going to take it. They're not going to say, oh, don't give it to me. So if you're going to give all the time and you don't worry about it, and you don't mind if you're giving that 20 quid every day, you can't blame that man for taking that 20 quid. You can't say, oh, you know, I give him 20 quid every day and he don't give me nothing. He doesn't even come to see me. He doesn't even call me. I gave him that 20 quid so he can come and see me, and he didn't come to see me. You know what I mean? I put that money in his account so he could do this, and he ain't done it. I put that money in his account so he could buy us tickets to go on this cruise, and he ain't done it. He spent the money. That's not on him. That's on you. Because you decided that you wanted a one-way relationship. And if you want a one-way relationship, you can't start bawling when things go wrong. If you have no expectations for your partner, you're not going to get anything. There's also disrespectful communicating, where, you know, like I said, they'll say, oh, you're fat. Oh, you look really fat in that. Or, oh, you know, what's happened to your face? What's all those marks on your face? Or, you know, can't you do better than that? Or what other way they insult you? You know what I mean? Or they disrespectful, and then they say, when if they see your face change, oh, I was only joking. Can't you have a laugh? I'm just bantering. Don't you know how to take a joke? You're setting yourself up for abuse. Anybody who abuses you by the way you look, the way you dress, and then they say, oh, I'm only joking, you're setting yourself up for abuse. No one who cares for you is going to abuse you and insult you. They're just not even, they're not going to do it, not even if they're joking. Ghosting. Those are the people who ignore your calls. And no matter how many times you call, leave messages and ask them to call you back, they don't. And then you're leaving streams and streams of messages. Look, girls, if you call a man and ask him to leave you a message and he doesn't call you back, block him. After a reasonable time. I'm not saying he has to call you back the same day, but if he hasn't called you back in a couple of weeks and you know that, he's out and there's nothing wrong with him and your mates have seen him wherever and he hasn't called you, he's not interested. A man who is interested will call you. He's not going to wait weeks and weeks until he calls you. And then you're there leaving all of these long messages and there's no response. And then when he does decide to call you after 3-4 weeks, or maybe it could even be a couple of months, you're there saying, oh, what happened to you? I was so worried. And you say, oh boy, I have things to do, I was this and that. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm calling you now. So, at least I'm calling you now. No, yeah, I do appreciate you calling me now. It's just that I was so worried. I was worried why you didn't call me. It seemed so long and I missed you. I don't want to listen. So the man knows that he can put her on hold for a couple of months, a month or a couple of months, and he can call her up after a couple of months and she's still going to accept him. And oh, when am I going to see you? You're setting yourself up for abuse. A man who cares about you is not going to do that. A man who cares about you is going to be thoughtful and considerate. He's going to worry about how you think and what you feel. And he's going to worry about hurting you. He's not going to be off gallivanting and then when he feels, oh, I'm bored or, I want to change. Let me see if this one... And sometimes they're scrolling through their telephone book, their telephone numbers. And you just happen to come up, oh, I ain't spoken to that one for quite a while. Let me give her a ring and see what she has said. And you feel privileged because he's chosen you to call on that particular day. And I say, God, you can't accept that kind of behaviour. You're setting yourself up for abuse and you're setting yourself up for a very unhappy future. Breadcrumbing. You have some men who give you just enough. That's what they call breadcrumbing. Where, just like that call, it's taken 2 months for him to call you and you're so happy that he's called you. You accept him, oh, when am I going to see you? And so he comes and sees you, whatever happens, happens, and he's off again for another 2 to 3 months. And he comes back and he gives you enough words and enough encouragement and enough assurance to keep you hanging on, to keep you as an option. That's what you are. You're an option. When a man is breadcrumbing you and giving you just enough to keep you going, just enough to keep you on side, you are an option. You're not his main piece. You're not his main woman. So bear that in mind when he comes back and he starts being nice to you and he gets you on side only to do the same thing again. You have some, if you're talking to somebody and you don't know the person very well and he's using sexualized language, he's talking about certain parts of the body and, you're not offended by it and you're skinning up with him. You're setting yourself up for him to go the extra mile. Do not tolerate any sexualized language, especially when the relationship is new. You don't tolerate it. What you're giving that person permission is to up the ante. And then when it reaches too much, you're going to say, oh, I don't like it. And he's going to say, well, why did you, we've been talking like this all the time. What's your problem? And then you'll probably back down and say, oh, well, I didn't think, I don't mind this, but I do mind that. I mean, be consistent. Either you accept sexualized language or you don't. And if you don't even let it start. What else is there? Testing the boundaries. A lot of men will test the boundaries. See how far they can take you. You'll have some men who call you up and, they end up video calling you and they say, oh, I really like the way you look. I really like you. I can't come to see you, but, can I just see you in a swimming costume? Can you just take off that, like say me, can you take off that tracksuit and put on, your nightie or something? Next time, if you take off your tracksuit and put on a nightie, oh, I wouldn't mind if you just put down your strap a little bit. Just put down your strap. I just want to see your shoulder. Next time they call you, oh, I just want to see, can you just lower the camera? I just want to see your breast. I just want to see your nipples. I just want to see your belly button. Next thing you know, you've got some kind of pornography going on. Do not allow somebody to test your boundaries. Stop at the get-go. If they're not satisfied with what you have on, say, see ya. Talk to someone else. Somebody who ignores your requests and needs, you're setting yourself up for an abusive relationship. Sometimes your needs are simple. Sometimes you could just say, look, I would really prefer if you came over on say such and such a day, and they ignore you or they don't even bother. It's just about when you share your needs with somebody and you open up to somebody and they totally ignore it, then you know when you've said something to someone and then they ignore it, because you think in your head at that time, I told him I didn't like that. Why is he doing it? That is a sign. When you're telling people that you don't like something and yet they still do it, that person is testing your boundaries. And if you say, oh, I'm not going to bother, I can't be asked, I don't want an argument, this and that. If you don't say anything, it means that your word doesn't mean anything. You need to have integrity too. If you say you don't like something, and then you allow somebody to do that same thing you said you don't like, that means you're not sticking to your word. If you don't like something and somebody infringes on that or ignores you, you need to be saying, look, I did say to you that I didn't like that and you're doing it again. And maybe they've forgotten. Then they might say, oh, I'm really sorry, I totally forgot, or, I missed the boat, I wasn't thinking. That's totally different. That's fine. But when you say that, if you don't say anything at all, you do not know whether that person has genuinely forgotten. You don't know whether that person is going to apologise, or you don't know if that person just simply doesn't care and it's just ignoring your needs. You need to know. Excessive use of profanities. Any profanities really is inappropriate. There will be times when you get really, really angry, maybe. I don't know the circumstances. It all depends on who you are. Everybody is different. Some people use mild profanities. Some people use overt profanities. It's really up to you, but you must know what your limitations are. What else is there? Shouting, controlling, intimidation, and bullying. If you find that, you say something to your partner that you don't like, oh, I really don't like, some people, they might say, I really don't like it when you push past me, or I can't even think of an example at the moment. I should have put down some examples, but somebody who, when you tell them something that you don't like, they start shouting and getting aggressive and almost controlling and intimidating. You mustn't excuse that behaviour. You have to kind of say to yourself, oh my goodness, if I'm just trying to explain this to this person and they're kicking off like that, what happens when it's something more serious? So you have to bear that in mind. Never excuse aggressive, controlling and bullying behaviour. Don't excuse it. Don't say, oh, it's because he had too much to drink. Oh, it's because, he's in a bad mood. Oh, it's because he lost his job. Oh, it's because he had an argument with the neighbour. Don't make any excuses, because once they know they can intimidate you and bully you, you do not know where that's going to lead. So don't accept it. And when I say don't accept it, I'm assuming that you're trying to avoid entering a relationship that's abusive. You're not already in that relationship. This is for people who are trying to avoid entering into an abusive relationship. Okay. Some men they test to see how they can disrespect you. They can test how to behave, what kind of inappropriate behavior you'll accept. They can be abrasive, they can talk down to you, they can make sexual advances, they can go missing, like I said. They can ghost you, and it's all to see how you're going to respond. And this is where you manage to command respect. You don't like something, speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you don't speak up when you don't like something, you're enabling the behavior. So you don't want anybody ordering you around. You don't want anybody manipulating you verbally or in any other way. And to be honest, it's very easy to avoid abusive relationships because if you've got self-respect, you know what makes you feel uncomfortable. And sometimes you can hear somebody say something or see somebody's behavior and your body actually recoils. You feel it. At that point, trust your body, trust your reflexes. You don't have to kick off, but you know that that person isn't right. That person has done something to make you feel uncomfortable. Don't make excuses for it. You can find somebody who doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. So your body is the trigger. Your gut instincts is the trigger. So when somebody is speaking to you and in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, just watch that space and see how it evolves. See whether or not it's lighthearted. See whether or not there's a consistent pattern. See whether or not it's a one-off. And just see how you feel about it overall. Sometimes it is banter. Sometimes it's something you can dismiss. But if there's a repetitive pattern that makes you feel uncomfortable, that is a sure sign that you could be entering into an abusive relationship. So I hope you found this useful. Bye-bye.